Suddenly, the media has begun to ignore the entire concept of due process. Listen to me. I'm a dad, and I want to give you this example of due process. If you have a 13-year-old child who plays his music too loud, maybe your neighbor calls the cops on them. The cops come over. You're not home. The cops start asking your 13-year-old child, are there guns in the house? Does your dad have guns? Do you use guns? Do you shoot with your father? They get more and more in depth. The next thing you know, your kid is now listed in a police report. As some members of the media would have it, they want that police report listed in a database to stop people from getting firearms. It's an anti-freedom stigma that will stick with that 13-year-old child for the rest of his life. And it started with a simple complaint about music. Now, we've got to keep guns out of the hands of mentally deranged lunatics like the one who shot up that school in Florida. But Americans, law-abiding Americans, deserve due process. The right to be considered innocent until proven guilty. It's the most important right we have. We can't just snatch it away. Listen to my discussion with Second Amendment attorney Chuck Michel.
You can't just have some indiscriminate, ambiguous factor that would trigger your loss of gun rights, whether it's police reports or some other indication. But the opportunity for vindictive abuse and just simply incompetence runs rampant, and there's so many people who we put on this what's a blacklist that don't deserve to be there. And we see it in California right now. If you are subject to a restraining order as a result of some complaint by your ex-girlfriend or your ex-wife, or you're going through a divorce, you can't own guns, and you don't even have to be notified that the hearing is taking place. And there's all kinds of other consequences from that. Once you're on that list, you're presumed to be an unfit parent. And so there's opportunities for people to take advantage of that kind of system. In Connecticut and California, they have gun violence restraining orders, so-called, that any family member can do it. They can have you dragged into court and take your right to own a gun away. It's just being abused left and right. And now they're trying to expand it so that anyone, a coworker or anybody else who may have a grudge against someone, can file this complaint. And they don't put any due process protections in place. They don't put any consequences in place for false reports. It's just set up to be a vindictive, failed system.
You've got to have a way to prove to the federal government that you don't deserve to be on that list. If these liberal elitists get their way, these anti-gunners get their way, ultimately, what do they want? They want everyone on a list. Everyone on the list, so then everyone can't buy guns. That is the end game here. Now, I get that it is a very complicated issue. And believe me when I tell you, I don't want deranged lunatics, mentally ill, violent criminals with guns in their hands. It's the last thing I want. But I also don't want the rights of law-abiding Americans snatched away because some overzealous government bureaucrat who hates guns decided to get in the way and just literally take those rights from you. That is what I am here to protect against.